It's been a strange time in Australia and at Enough Rope recently as we've been playing more old interviews than new ones as tributes to Australians who've died. Tonight, we revisit Peter Brock. We weren't able to bring you that interview last week because of Al Gore, but it's our pleasure to replay it now, revisiting a singular man, a very charming and impressive man, also very candid. Here once again is Peter Brock. Fabulous to have you here. You turned 60 this year, is that right?
Yep.
No, you didn't.
I did.
How can you look 28 and be 60?
I must say that when you do reach 60, you don't mind an accolade coming your way, so thank you very much.
No, there's clearly a deal with the devil. I'm sorry. You don't have an ounce of flab on you. You barely have a crease in your face. Your hair is a subtle grey, I'll give you that.
You mustn't be looking in the same mirror I'm looking into, but anyway. No, look, I do feel pretty good. I guess I started off maybe 20 years ago watching what I ate and doing a bit of exercise and things like that.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, vegans won't eat anything that's an animal product at all?
But I do. So I'm not totally vegan. I eat eggs and stuff like that. I eat eggs. I'm sorry out there, all you vegans.
Oh, you're going to get so much mail now.
Yeah. So I'm not strictly vegan, but I'm pretty close to it.
We've got some footage of you here from your home movies as a kid, which is the young petrol head in action, I guess. What's happening here?
Well, I'm about 14 or 15-year-old. That car I'm in was once an Austin 7, and I remember getting that car from a local guy for £5. And in my haste to remove the bodywork to strip it down to become a paddock bomb like that was, I actually used Mum's axe to sort of strip away the rusty metal. She came out and she just was not a happy woman, I can tell you, because this was her axe she split the firewood with. What was I doing?
You were cutting a car up with
Yeah, I
it.
was.
And did you hot that up? Because that was really...
Yeah. Well, look, it was hotted up. We used to do things like put an open exhaust on and we'd fiddle around with the camshaft and stuff, but as kids, we didn't know what we were doing. We'd sort of read these books, and I think we probably made the car goes worse, to be frank with you. But we had a lot of fun, and we learnt tinkering how to keep a car going. And one thing you knew when you had a car that was so fragile and so delicate as a car like that, you learnt something called mechanical sympathy. In other words, if you broke it, you fixed it. And if you had no money, you better not break it. So
we found in the archives an ad that you did for, I think, Monaro back in 1972. A couple of
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I look forward to this.
This is the new Holden Monaro GTS 4-door. This is Bathurst winner Peter Brock. Today, he's road testing this new car at the New South Wales Police Driver Training Circuit.
Well, this sort of motor car is my type of car. You turn the steering wheel, the car turns. You put your foot on the brakes, it stops.
Hey. Now, was that the first time anyone had thought of those features in a car?
And that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the first ad I ever did, I think. The first ad I did for Holden.
Yeah.
But it was the start of a very long relationship, of course, with that organisation.
Can you explain something to me as a non-petrol head?
Yeah.
What is the difference between a Ford and a Holden?
I think it's... there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And...
At Bathurst, though, you know, you'd see the Ford and Holden camps and they were really fierce about it. What was going on there?
Look, it really came to a head when I was racing at Bathurst in the early 70s with one Alan Moffat, who I might say was the toughest competitor that I ever faced. Now, along with Moffat, who was very much a very strong-minded individual with a group of people around him, they didn't talk to the Holden people. We felt like we were the white hats and they were the black hats. And gradually that really grew up into a real tribal situation where nowadays it's the red and the blue. It's the red team versus the blue oval guys type of thing. If you're a Ford person, you don't talk to a Holden person. If you switch camps, I mean, if you said, I used to be a Holden fan, the answer is, well, you never were.
I'd like to talk now about what must have been the lowest point in your career, and I think you know what I'm driving at, which is when you drove a Volvo. Did you wear a hat?
I had a hat.
Yeah.
And look, sometimes we do these things to just prove to ourselves that it is possible to do these things and get away with it.
I've got to know, when you pulled into the pits, did all the airbags go off? Did you have hazard lights on?
I pulled into the pits and to be confronted by a lot of people swearing and cursing at me.
Is that right?
Get off this track, Brock. What are you doing? You're blocking me everywhere. That was an interesting period of time, and they simply said to me, Peter, we've got an image problem out here. And I thought, I might have an image problem too, pretty soon when I watch. And that they wanted to turn it around. And that was an era when their cars were being sold on safety, and there was no panache, there was no excitement, there was no understanding that, hang on, this car's a reasonable car. So they embarked upon this race program and said to me, Peter, we'd really like you to do this job for us.
Over the course of your career, you sort of became the non-smoking, non-drinking, vegetarian guy interested in the energy fields of crystals.
Boring, yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Did this cost you mates amongst the blokes at the track? Did people think you were a bit weird?
Well, it's just sort of, probably, I don't know, because I thought I was still fairly normal in my conversations with them. They probably thought I was a bit weird. Probably do think I'm a bit weird. But, you know, I've always marched to a different drum beat, and that's just me. I don't think you should just try and fit in because you want, you know, peer approval. I mean, too many of us live in fear of the disapproval of those around us. So I've always worked very hard at just being comfortable with who I am. Look, it's be fair to say a few of them to this day probably think, Peter Brock, he's okay, but... And I don't mind that. Yeah.
Your partner of many years, Bev, wrote about you, saying that you were a fascinating mixture of great self-confidence and also great insecurity. Where did the insecurity come from?
Well, I haven't read the book, so I don't know what she said, but I don't know. I don't know if I really do have much insecurity. I suppose, like anyone else, you think, oh, is it okay to be doing something in your life, some little bit, but or you might be concerned at different times about the impact you might have had saying and doing. But I mean, as time goes by, those things, you resolve those issues. And I live my life these days by the understanding that what anyone thinks of me is none of my business.
That's a hard thing to do.
It is. It is. But if you can master that, ultimately what it means is that if you're happy with who you are and you're satisfied that you're living your life with integrity and honesty and that you're doing your very best at whatever it is you're setting out to do, well, if someone gets it, they get it. If they don't get it, well, what can you do? You can't stop doing what you're doing just to satisfy them.
That takes remarkable self-control, which you've always exhibited professionally. Does that ever waver?
I don't think so. I think it has at different times, perhaps, you know, because you're only human, but I've always been a very determined sort of person that's what I want to do and that's what I, you know, set out to achieve. And when it doesn't come to fruition, that's when you sit back and you do a bit of soul-searching, because you've got to sit back and say, well, OK, what have I done that caused that to have an outcome which wasn't as I thought it would be? The healthiest approach to that, I think, is that don't have any great expectations of what the outcome's going to be, because the outcome's going to be what the outcome's going to be.
You talk about things like self-control and about not letting what other people say affect you. And it's almost, I get the impression that it's almost like your life is like a car, that you're tinkering with it and fine-tuning. Do you have an ability to step out and look at yourself?
Yeah,
because
I think
that's what it sounds like.
Look, I think most people that are absolutely committed to getting the most out of their lives do certainly go through an evaluation process every now and then. And they have to look at themselves honestly. And if you don't look at yourself honestly and you aren't prepared to... I mean, that's been my biggest failing was, I guess, over the years saying, oh, I'm doing fine. But are you really looking at yourself honestly? And once you can look inside yourself and see who's there, I think it does make an enormous difference, because it does allow you to have something which is loosely called mastery of the mind, which is based on stopping chatter and the outside influences from distracting you from doing what you're doing. Now, that means you push aside the trivia of life, and you push aside perhaps relationship issues you should be actually addressing, but you think, I'll put it off till later. And look, I know from the experiences I've had in motor racing and other sports such as Olympics and what have you, that's the single most difficult task for people, is to push aside those things that are going to impact on their ability to actually get out there on that day and do marvellous things.
Difficult task, and also at some cost. You said yourself that one of the things that you appreciated or liked about Bev was that she mirrored in you some of the things you didn't like about yourself, some of the characteristics you didn't like.
Yeah. And there's no doubt that when you have a long-standing relationship, that, you get to know how each other thinks. And, of course, it's very easy to fall into a role where you allow someone to do your thinking for you. And pretty soon you're not going by what's in there, what's inside your heart, what's inside you to make you say, that's what I feel like doing or I don't feel like doing. And I recognise that very much so within myself. I mean, you've just got to be your authentic self.
You and Bev had a very strong relationship for almost 3 decades, and earlier this year surprised many, even your closest friends, when you announced your separation.
Yes, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Very challenging. Easily the biggest decision I've ever made in my life, and one that I do not take lightly. I mean, Bev's a marvellous woman who's been a wonderful mother and all of those things, but if you grow apart, you grow apart, and if the love that you had just ceases to be there, I'm afraid that's just what happens.
Bev did an interview recently and she said a number of things, one of which was to do what you did, to leave, takes a lot of guts. Is she right?
It does. Most people don't do it. Most people would say, well, I'm prepared to go on in life and finally finish up having a comfortable but non-productive life and perhaps miss out on contributing to the world around them in the manner they should contribute. I would think that I've got a lot to offer the world around me, and that the best parts of my life are now beginning to unfold, because I know that who I am is being reflected exactly by my actions.
When you say the best parts of your life are going to unfold, what is it that you believe you have to offer now?
Look, I think probably something along the lines of the community at large. I have a very strong belief that humanity can do it, that young people can do it, and that they are influenced enormously by, I guess you could call it a mental matrix that says, you must do it our way. We have the answers. Or if you don't do it like this, you are a failure. And young kids have enormous pressure on them to achieve certain scholastic levels, or they're told that they are not going to fit in with society. And one thing that I'd really like to be able to get involved with is schemes that give kids hope, give them a bit of inspiration, give them a bit of understanding that there is another way. And a lot of it, of course, is just in getting their minds to actually perhaps modify their trains of thought a little, perhaps to have some people talking to them that show them that there is another approach, that successful people aren't always born with a silver spoon in their mouth, that sports people are there succeeding in sport because of their determination and their application, their commitment, and their courage to press on when there was a lot of reasons why they shouldn't.
Bev described that you felt like a commodity.
That's true.
In what way a commodity?
Well, I mean, I must admit, I don't mind stirring the pot occasionally and saying some things which you could probably say are a little bit out there. I'm a provocateur, I must admit, by saying that, but it is true that I genuinely felt that I was simply a commodity and that I was not able to make my own decisions, so, yeah. And
did that apply within your relationship as well?
It does, yeah, to a certain degree it does, yes. I mean, that just happens. I think any person out here with a relationship knows that these things can creep in, and some people are comfortable to let it happen, some people are not. And obviously I looked at things and said, well, I'd like to take control of my own life, because I know that I've got a lot of good things that can happen, but it's got to be my passion, my energy, my impetus that's going to make it all work, and that's where I am now.
It's a very difficult thing because the way you describe it, it's a very clear path for you as to where you need to be in your life now.
Yep.
The way Bev described in this interview was she felt betrayed, that it was a betrayal.
It is like that, and I think that's one of the very much a downside, and it's very sad, and something which I am fully aware of. However, I honestly believe that you know, the other partner in that partnership obviously has the choice and the ability to do wonderful things for themselves, and with time, I believe that will occur, and with Beth particularly. Yeah.
You seem remarkably rational about something about which most people are wildly emotional. Is this part of what you were saying before, your ability to step out of yourself and control a moment?
I think so, yeah. It's not as if you don't have the emotion around anything. Of course you do, and I think any person does. But the reality is that you need to be able to look at these things from the point of view of what is the pathway for me in life? What is the pathway that's best for all? And that's the position I guess I'm just talking about as we speak.
When do you let emotions carry you?
I'm actually a remarkably emotional person, but I tend to sort of let that out and then say, right, now that's out of the way, let's not be an emotionally driven person, let's go with your feelings. It's not easy having this conversation with you, obviously, but I'm prepared to do it because I would like to think that there's people out there that might be sitting there thinking, I'm not being true to myself, what should I do about it? It could be negotiation, it could be resolving within a relationship, or it might be sitting back and saying this relationship has been here for 3 decades and it's time to move on.
It's a very difficult quest, and I respect you for it, to find your true self and to show your true self. Who is your true self?
Well, I guess he's sitting right in front of you, really. I would like to think you can live your life without any shadow of duplicity or dishonesty, and that you could simply sit back there and say, look, that's me.
Even if that means, as it almost inevitably does, it can hurt other people.
Look at it this way. Would you like to be in a relationship which is based on factors that are not totally honest? The answer is no.
Most relationships have some element of that, don't they?
They do.
And most relationships involve a balance, a compromise between
They do.
those factors.
They do. And for many years, of course, those things are quite valid. But if they get too far apart, and if love ceases to be there, well, that's the way it is.
You're 60, you've taken great care of yourself. You're a strong man, internally strong. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time, when you're 70?
Hopefully what I'm talking about here today will have come to fruition, and it will have worked out pretty well. And
Which is that you will be helping young people.
Yes, but I'd really like to be able to encourage people to do that work themselves. And I wouldn't see myself necessarily doing a lot of this stuff personally. I'd like to be the instigator, if you like, the facilitator or something like that, but I don't believe that I want to be all things to all people at all.
Is your heart full?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling pretty damn good about life, to be honest with you.
It's been fascinating talking to you, Peter Brock. Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you, Adam. Cheers.
That was really interesting.